Hi everyone, and welcome to another process video. So today I'm actually making a 3D hot air balloon on the card. So this is a process that you can actually apply to lots of different types of designs. Just a normal balloon would work as well. So I've started with stamping my hot air balloon stamp onto some pattern paper. Now I've done this because it's a very detailed stamp and I didn't want to have to go coloring all of the bits and pieces in, so I've stamped it onto some pattern paper, and then I used the Wow Pearl embossing powder over it, which kind of takes a bit of the color from underneath. I didn't want to use clear in this case because I wanted you to be able to see all of the ropes and everything hanging over the hot air balloon. So this is like an old-fashioned hot air balloon. I love this stamp set. So I'm just cutting out, although this stamp set actually comes with matching die, so it's a stamp and die set, I specifically wanted to cut out the pieces and make, do some paper piecing. So you can see that what I've done is with my hot air balloon is I've actually cut it out right on the edge of the balloon. I've cut off all of the excess strings there. Now I am just using my stamping platform, and I'm going to stamp the complete balloon on that paper, that background paper. That's once again a piece of pattern paper that I just had in my stash, and it looks like it's got clouds on it, so that's a win. Now I did stamp, as well as stamping the balloon on the background, I just stamped the basket of the balloon onto some craft card and cut it out. And I'm just going to pop this, putting some glue on it, you can see here, and I'm going to put it in position over where I stamped it on the background. So now I'm actually going to shape my balloon. So I'm using my little flower shaping tool. So this is a set that I got, I think it's got like 8 pieces or something in it, and this is the largest one. And I'm using that to give my balloon dimensions. So I've got the right side down and I'm working from the back, and I'm using the same sort of technique that I do when I'm shaping petals or flowers. So I'm rolling the ball around from the center, and you can see that what it's doing is it's shaping it. I'm using my fingers to just smooth out some of that creasing so it's not quite as noticeable. And then I've grabbed the other edge, I'm going right around the edge, and this should actually give it more dimension, so make the sides curl back a little bit more. I was really surprised how well this worked out. I was quite happy with the result. So you can see there that once again, I'm just smoothing out some of those pieces, but the embossing, the heat embossing didn't crack or anything on there. It was just perfect. So I end up shaping this little bit at the bottom, so it stays flat. So that's where that's the flue. I think they call it a flue, where the hot air goes up. So because I've stamped it on the background, you can see all of the strings and they look like a part of it, but the balloon is popping out. So, but the strings are light and you don't lose the background at all. Now, to attach this, I'm putting my Smart Art glue right around the edge. That is right on the very edge. And then I popped it on the background and just lightly held it around the edges. Now this didn't take very long. It took I don't know, maybe 40 seconds, maybe a minute at the most. This isn't sped up, this video here. I think I did cut a little bit of this out, but it wasn't very long at all. I was able to it stuck and it held, and happy days. All right, so now we've got to make a space for it on the card. So I'm just going to pop that to the side. All I'm doing there is tidying all of that up. Oh, you can see the dimension there. That looks fabulous. All right, so I used my number 2 metric rectangle in the set and cut out this background piece that I stamped with a wood textured stamp, background stamp. And I am just using some, I love to reuse my masking tape because it's less tacky, and I am positioning that on the front of the card. I'm not gluing it at this point in time. I'm just going to stick it with the masking tape. The reason that I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the smaller one of these 2 dies. I think that's like the number 4 die or number 5 die or something in the set. make sure that it fits around my balloon, which it does. And now I'm going to cut it out of the front. So I positioned the two on top of one another because I just didn't know if it was going to cut right through. But in this case, it did. Mind you, my background cardstock is not a 350 GSM in this particular case. It's close, I think, but it's just not a really heavy card. So it did cut through both of them, which I was stoked about. So now I can attach the front onto the card base. So if when you do this, if you try this and you put it through and it doesn't cut all the way through, that's the reason that I didn't stick the first piece down to start off with, so I could then just remove it easily, and you'll see the indent of the die in your card base, and then you'd be able to put it in, fit it into that like a jigsaw piece, and run it through your die cutting machine again. But as I said, I didn't have that issue this particular time, which was great. So now I've just glued that into place, and I've grabbed that smaller of the two dies. That's the die that I used to cut the size. That's the window size, the smaller one. I grabbed the next one in the set so I could cut some really nice fine frames. And you can see here that what I've got, you can see that lovely frame. What I did cut out here is I did cut three altogether, the dark brown one, and I cut two of the craft colored cardstock as well, and I've layered them. I didn't stick it on yet, but I did layer them, and I stuck them all together to make that frame. All right, so now I am positioning the small one around my balloon. Now, clearly, I am not going to be able to put this through my die cutting machine because it'll flatten out my balloon and totally defeat the purpose. But I do need to make sure that it's the right size. So by putting the smaller one around it, I'm then grabbing my pencil and I'm marking on the outer edge of the die. So that will make this, when I cut it, wider than the hole in my card. So I'm just going to slip that in my Tim Holtz cutter, line up the little tick that I put at the bottom with the blade edge, and I'll cut that off, and I'll do the same on both sides, very gently, not pushing that down. I then actually debated about how to attach this, and I did decide the double-sided tape in this case is going to be better. That was primarily because my background pattern paper was quite thin, and I didn't want to use glue in case it bubbled up. You know, sometimes if you use too much glue, it bubbles up a bit. So I decided to use the double-sided tape. The other thing is that by doing the double-sided tape the way that I'm doing it now, which is just lifting it up in two opposing corners, gives me time to, you know, I can actually position it really well. This turned out to be just as, I don't know what I was thinking of what I was doing, but I actually left all of this in because it's kind of like a blooper. I just don't know what I was doing. Every time I tried to do this, I couldn't get it to work. So first time I couldn't get it to line up because that top piece of tape is too long, you know, where I folded it back. But I do try a couple of times. No, it's still not. I just didn't see it. Watching this while I was doing the editing and the voiceover in and of itself is a little bit frustrating. But I decided to leave it in because I think it's important that you all know that, you know, without all the editing, we're not all perfect on YouTube, although, you know, we like to make sure that you think we are. So now I'm trying to just position it. I folded it over. Obviously doing it over the other way wasn't going to work, so I decided to try and do it this way. It's up too far, it's down too far, it's over too far to the left. Honestly, this is not rocket science. This shouldn't be this hard. So, right, finally got it in and straight. So now I can press that down in the corners. Oh, no, going to check that again. Obviously it wasn't correct. Are we happy now? Yes, and now we're putting the pressure on the front of the card, and that will stick it down in those two corners, and I can pick the card front up and just remove that release paper by gently pulling it out from underneath and running my fingers along the edges. So yeah, that was a little bit tough, that bit. Well, it's not really hard, but all right, so I stamped a You Are a Wonderful Dad, which is, or You Are a Wonderful Man, I think it is, yeah, which comes in the balloon stamp set as well, and cut it out and made a nice little frame there. So I just layered that on the dark cardboard, and then that's the same color as the cardstock, which is the top layer of my stamp there. And I am just popping some glue on the frame where I want this to rest on the frame, rather than just put it willy-nilly on the back of my label there on my greeting. I decided to put it on the actual frame itself. So, and then yes, I left this in there because I'm so particular about some things, and then I stick it down and then I need to change it again as well. So honestly, I drive myself insane. All right, so there is the completed card. It's a lovely card. I've done this with normal balloons, as I said, and I think it's fabulous. So anyway, I'd really like to thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope you learned something and that you really give this technique a try. If you would like to see some different versions of this card, please hop on over to our Facebook group. I'll put a link below in the description box. As always, I appreciate you liking this video and would love for you to become a subscriber. Till next time, stay safe and happy crafting.